Employers are on the lookout for updates from OSHA and OFCCP, two agencies that regulate the workplace. Shortly after taking office, President Biden named a new OFCCP director, former Obama-era EEOC Commissioner Jenny Yang. While there has been much speculation about the new direction of the agency, action so far has been limited. And while President Biden has recently pushed OSHA into action, employers are still waiting on the COVID-19 Emergency Temporary Standard from OSHA. Epstein, Becker Green's David Garland and Bob O'Hara are here to tell us more about what to expect from OFCCP and OSHA under President Biden.
Let's start with a discussion about what's been happening at the OFCCP. And perhaps you can tell us about some of the shifting priorities as a consequence of the new director of that agency.
Jenny Yang has gone out in the press and talked about one issue in particular, and that's pay equity. The focus for her going forward in OFCCP is going to be very heavily focused on pay equity. And what is that in the OFCCP context? That means that their reviews are going to be focused on compensation. They're going to be looking at compensation. They always have looked at compensation, but they're going to really focus down in on it. And those are the areas of concern. She also wants to try to bridge the racial, ethnic, and gender pay gaps that you hear about all the time in the press, and people have talked about it and people have studied it. That's an area of significant concern for her. And this harkens back, frankly, to what she did when she was chair of EEOC.
Let's pivot now to OSHA and talk about some of the developments there. Of course, that agency has been in the limelight for much of the last year as a result of COVID. What do you expect in the days ahead when it comes to new regulations coming out of OSHA?
OSHA is definitely under the gun. The president has made it very clear on the first full day in office. He issued an executive order on the COVID pandemic and specifically how to combat it in a variety of ways. OSHA's component of that was significant. He mandated a number of things for OSHA to accomplish in a very short time frame. During the pandemic, OSHA kept coming out with a cascade of new requirements for companies to try to figure out how to staunch the damage that COVID was causing in the economy, in the employment base. So they came out with a lot of contradictory things. So how do you make sure you do it right? So the new president, President Biden, has focused on that, saying, look, we want you to focus on COVID now for the remainder of the pandemic by doing this national emphasis program. The interim response plan is voluminous. Everything that comes out of OSHA is voluminous, but it was 60 to 70 pages. What I thought was fascinating about it was there were 87 references to the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. And, that's all well and good, but as we all know, CDC guidance shifted significantly over time, as did OSHA. So it's hard for employers to say, all right, we'll follow CDC guidance. What is it today? So you have to constantly monitor CDC and OSHA to figure out what's going on. The most important piece, which is not out yet, is called an Emergency Temporary Standard. That basically takes all of the guidance that's been issued and incorporates it in regulation. It makes it enforceable. That's a very big difference between, we think you should do this to you must do this. And so we expect the ETS, the Emergency Temporary Standard, to issue any day. The president ordered OSHA to have it out by March 15th. That did not happen, but we understand that it's in the White House for regulatory review.
So given all that you've outlined that's coming or on the horizon, what if anything, can employers be doing at this point?
For an organization that's bringing their people back to work, and more people are doing that because of the vaccination programs, it's like, take stock now. What do you have already ready to go? And what kind of process are you going to follow going forward to make sure you're keeping up to date as an organization with not only OSHA and CDC guidance, but you have to watch the state agencies as well. Following those three pieces, CDC, OSHA, and your state health agency, or any directives that come out of, like, for example, the governors, because of their emergency authority that they currently have to keep up on that. And it's not easy because it is a moving target for sure.
Thanks, David and Bob. You can listen to an extended podcast of this conversation at employmentlawthisweek.com or on your preferred podcast platform. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.